Welcome to the 359. I'm Roger Chang.
I'm Ben Fox-Rubin.
Tomorrow's the big Apple event, and the rumors are flying fast and furious. A bunch came out over the last day or so, and I just wanted to run through what we think will happen tomorrow. We'll definitely see 3 iPhones, 2 updates to the iPhone 10, one called the 10s, and one rumored to be the 10s Max. There is supposedly a third model that is supposed to be cheaper. It's rumored to be the iPhone 10R.
They're horrible names.
Bigger, but uses lower end components. And a redesigned Apple Watch with smaller bezel, potentially EKG support, which is kind of interesting, actually, in terms of Apple's push to position the Apple Watch as a health device. And then we'll likely see new AirPods and hopefully a launch date and price for the AirPower wireless charging pad. Remember that thing? It was announced last year.
And yeah, it hasn't showed up since then. That is a lot of stuff, by the way.
And
I guess there's a lot to show off.
There are a lot more rumors that came out yesterday. I want to break down, though. What do you think of this lineup? This is a pretty stacked lineup for Apple, right?
I think look, it sounds pretty solid. Showing off like 3 of the newer 10 models, I think makes a lot of sense. That, they were like, this is the future of the phone, and now they're basically moving the entire lineup to that. Right. My concern is with the budget phone, we were talking about this ahead of the show, that it could be as low as $700, which is a budget phone, not really,
not
or
really,
as high as like $850, according to analysts.
Yeah, the range varies. I think one analyst noted that it could go as high as $850 if Apple really wanted to wring out the profits on that phone, which would really significantly change the pricing dynamic of these the pricing range of the iPhone, right? It's always been generally $650, now $700 to $1,000. Now we can see that range go even higher. Yeah,
our colleague Shara Tipkin, who wrote the story about this, also mentioned that there needs to be a refresh on the iPhone SE.
Yep.
It seems extremely unlikely that they are going to talk about that on the big stage. Like they're just like the SE, they do like a very mild show off of that. The last time they did an update on it, I think they just increased the storage on it.
Yeah, it was a press release.
Yeah, but it would be nice if they really tried to emphasize a little bit more on the budget stuff. But what we're expecting to see is like Apple just pushing up the price on premium phones even more than before.
And basically, if you want to get a deal or a bargain for an iPhone, you basically have to look at the really old SE or the older models. Presumably, one of the iPhone 8 will probably stick around. The iPhone 7 might stick around. We'll see. But those older models are usually where you want for those deals. Wanted to break down also a couple of rumors on products we may see. There's the iPad Pro, which an analyst came out and said yesterday that he expects to see Face ID, smaller bezels. That's been rumored, but the big thing is support for USB-C. Not a Lightning port, but an actual USB-C port.
In the iPad Pro?
Yeah, that's the big rumor, which could be a big change.
Am I wrong about this? They don't usually do iPads during like their iPhone event.
They have in the past, but it's been inconsistent. They've had their own iPad events in the past. This one, they may have too much, and they might push that one to October. We'll likely also see a MacBook Air replacement with better resolution,
which
Touch
would
ID.
Also be in October.
That would likely be
I'm very excited to hear.
Right, and then there's the ongoing rumors, the Apple TV service, which our colleague Joan Salzman did a nice breakdown over the weekend. The TV service probably isn't showing up this year, but just in case, we wanted to throw it out there as a potential highlight for one of these shows.
Well, look, that's a lot, like I think at WWDC we were all kind of looking at each other being like, okay, well, what's the headline? It looks like there's going to be a lot to write about tomorrow, so definitely come back to CNET to check it out.
That's right. I'm Roger Chang.
I'm Ben Fox-Rubin.
Thanks for listening.
There we go.
You guys snuck up on me. Come on.
The timing was just a little off there.
Yeah.
I take one day off and you guys screw it all up.
It's okay.
Wait, how did we screw it up?
It's the new year. It's the new year. It's fine.
For more on these stories, check us out at CNET. I'm waiting for audio Q&A.
I did. I kind of let
Ben
into
screwed it up. Let's blame Ben.
Just blame me. That's what I'm here for.
We usually do.
That's why you guys like having me on.
But anyways, thanks everybody for joining us. It's time for the post show. So we're going to jump into the chat and take questions and comments for anybody who's got some good stuff to keep the conversation going. A few people don't, I mean, we joke about the names, and a lot of people think it's kind of a silly naming convention. There are worse out there, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Some do like it, though. Thomas Tiger says XR is a good name. Thomas Bizwas asks, which name for an iPhone would you guys prefer? Why don't you go ahead and floor that, and I'll dig out more
Oh,
questions.
no.
man. Oh, you're
We're
gonna
terrible.
ask-
Put us on the spot.
We're so much better at criticizing.
I know.
Look, I would like them to name them the iPhone 9. 9 got completely screwed in this whole situation. So that would
But
that
7,
would be
8, 9.
nice. 789. I knew you were gonna make that joke. It's such a dad joke.
It's a dad joke. Sorry.
And you know, we're gonna inevitably go over all the naming conventions for next year.
Right.
Because we were talking about it with the iPhone 10. We were like, what are they gonna call it next year? Well, they just called it the 10s. It makes a lot more sense. So
I would have liked them to just go down to the bare bones basic iPhone Plus, iPhone Mini, I guess. You know, kind of like what their iPad naming scheme was.
Yeah, and
Although
MacBooks.
this one's a little bit confusing because the quote unquote cheap or budget iPhone, the lowest cost iPhone in the lineup, is actually bigger than the. Yeah,
Is that true?
That is true. The iPhone. So the smallest phone in the lineup of this upcoming rumor lineup is the iPhone 10s. Just the regular one, which is an update to the iPhone 10. Mm-hmm. Same size, 5.8. And then you've got the 6.5 iPhone 10s Max. In between is a 6.5-inch iPhone 10R.
I thought it was 6.1.
6.1.
Okay.
So it's 5.8, 6.1, and 6.5. But
That is
the middle
weird.
one, the middle size one, which is really weird and why we think it's the most intriguing one, the middle phone is also the cheapest phone. And
Yeah,
so it
and the
kind of
middle
breaks the
phone-
convention that larger phones have to be more expensive. This one is kind of a different one. I mean, it doesn't use OLED, right? It uses LCD.
Come on, say it.
Aluminum instead of stainless
Come on,
steel.
just go for aluminium.
I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it again. And so that part's the confusing thing, where it's and why it's so interesting, because it's I think it's the phone that a lot of people are going to go after because it is bigger.
Yeah, if they price it the right way, if they price it properly, closer to
we're
700.
We're all cheap, so in our minds, the right way is like the cheapest price possible.
Right, yeah,
I'd
but
bring
if
it
they
down to
do-
650 if I could.
If they do, then it could spark that, you know, quote unquote super cycle that everybody was
That was
expecting
missing last year?
for the 10th anniversary. They still did well,
Yeah.
right? They
Yeah,
still
yeah.
did just fine.
Yeah.
Still $1 trillion
And demand
company.
for the iPhone 10 definitely was. I mean, it far outstripped the 8 and the 8 Plus, right? Which makes sense. Like, who's going to buy, like, at this point, a 3-year-old looking phone?
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
What are our questions? Bring them on.
All right, let's take the first one from Shubham. He's asking if we know anything about the new Mac with Touch ID support.
Yeah, so the analyst from the main quote, that the analyst who's known for leaking a bunch of things accurately, he talked about a MacBook Air replacement with Touch ID. It wouldn't get the Touch Bar that is basically exclusive to the MacBook Pros right now, but we would presumably get Touch ID with the new MacBook Air, which is supposed to have, like everything else, smaller bezels, higher resolution, and just sort of a badly needed refresh of that model. So it's old.
it's a very long time.
Yeah.
I'm still skeptical that it's going to happen. We've talked about it
I
so
know.
many
I know.
times in September and October that the prospect of it actually coming, I don't even know what to say. Hard to imagine.
Sounds so dour. Speaking of Touch, next question from Timothy Dew. Did they officially kill the iPod Touch?
Hasn't that been
Does that-
dead?
That was
Does
a while ago.
Does that still exist?
Oh,
They
yeah.
might still sell it.
Maybe I'm gonna look
I
it
know.
up right now.
I know the iPod Touch was the last one that they were selling. They got rid of a lot of the other iPods, like the iPod Mini and the regular
Oh,
iPod.
yeah.
So the iPod Touch is the last one to actually survive, and I'm not sure that they actually still sell
I
it.
don't think they sell it. Yeah.
I wanted to get to something
I
else,
can't
by
tell you
the
the
way.
last time I went to a store and saw one.
Yeah.
Oh wait. Sorry, I stand corrected. The iPod Touch is still around.
Yes, I
And
totally
it comes
knew it.
in multiple colors.
They're selling so few of them, but whatever. What do they care? They haven't
Jeez.
updated in a long time.
Yeah.
Color me
So-
wrong.
So,
There you go.
so one thing that I wanted to dive into a little bit more from what we were talking about was, what would a newer version of the AirPods like actually look like. So
Yeah.
they're doing really well. I see them
Right.
a lot around in the city, so they're obviously popular.
I mean, it could just be simple things, whether it's like
Shorten the tip.
maybe better battery.
Yeah.
It could be stuff that's less cosmetic, more internal stuff. Maybe
Yeah.
connects faster. I don't know. I don't use AirPods. Still a little skeptical. Maybe they'll. I don't know. Like I'm always worried they're gonna fall out and I lose
They're,
them.
they're definitely going to make them more expensive, though. If they're going to do
Oh, yeah.
a
Yeah,
Gen
yeah,
2,
yeah.
they're going to
Yeah,
price
yeah.
it twice as much.
Well,
So,
maybe
like,
the
what-
Gen 1 gets cheaper.
Yeah, I guess so. But I don't disagree with what your analysis is that it's not really going to be that different. And in that case, why even keep around the Gen 1? But I don't know. We'll find out tomorrow.
Next question from Lost Legacy and James Fever combined. Do you think the new iPhone is going to support Apple Pencil?
Oh,
I've
great-
seen rumblings of
That's
this.
a great question. I don't think so.
I find that very doubtful.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting idea, but
Yeah.
they're not Samsung.
Yeah,
and it doesn't come with
I feel like
it.
they're keeping the pencil to the iPad line, making that its own unique feature. I mean, they theoretically could for the new 10s Max
There you go.
because it's a bigger phone, 6.5. It's one of the bigger phones out there. I think it is has a bigger display than even the Note 9. So it could theoretically take advantage of it, but I don't know if they're going to go down that route.
Isn't that something that like Steve Jobs made fun of a long
Yep.
time ago?
Yep.
He was just like, to hell with styluses.
It's your finger.
Yeah.
It's all you need is your finger.
I got 10 styluses right here.
That's right. They cost nothing.
Mm-hmm.
There
It's
you
the
go.
cheapest Apple accessory you'll ever have.
I mean, until they find a way to charge you for
That's
it.
right.
Right.
That's right.
From Popola Pro Therapy, what's the best way to buy the new iPhone? From the Apple Store, or carrier?
It depends on how quickly you want it. I think if you want it right away, probably buying it through the Apple Store online, pre-ordering, getting up at, well, for us, 3 a.m. to do it, or even before 3 a.m. just to get ready.
The sad part is even when you guys get up at 3 a.m. as hardcore fans / people who are paid to go and cover this professionally,
Yeah.
there's still people in line before you.
Oh, yeah.
Days ahead of time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, definitely not the store. The store is probably the worst place to go. You want to pre-order online. If you don't care about getting it right away, I would wait a little while to see how the carriers kind of push this thing, because a few years back they were pushing all these incredible like buy one get one free or upgrade for free type deals. I don't know if that's going to come back, but these carriers, it's still a fairly competitive environment, and I wouldn't be surprised if they'd offer more incentives, at least a little down the line. Like the first few weeks, the rush of buying an iPhone, it's a pain in the butt because the demand is usually constrained, or the demand is high, supply is usually constrained, and so there's no need for incentives. But if you're willing to wait around for a little while, I'm willing to bet it's probably better off for you financially to wait.
But yeah, if you're really dying to get one immediately, I agree with you. The pre-order is the way to go, and like immediately when they open pre-ordering is when you would want to do it.
Yeah.
If you show up at a carrier store, this happened to me with the iPhone 6, so this was a while ago, but I showed up at a Verizon store. They didn't have the color I wanted, so you will sometimes find the phone that you want, and it won't be as much of a wait, but sometimes the carriers don't have the same stock as the actual Apple store. So that's another thing to at least consider. So, yeah. There are also other phone makers, by the way.
What? Really?
There are other companies that make phones. Did you know that?
Not this week.
Not this week.
All right, from Potating Potato. That's the best screen name I've seen in a while. So leaks and rumors just started saying the prices will be much higher than previously anticipated. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean I think that's something we alluded to with that discussion of the analyst range, especially for that budget phone. I think not the budget phone. I keep calling it the budget phone, but the iPhone 10R or whatever it's going to be called, the cheapest one. I think that's really going to set the pattern or the tone for what the prices are going to look like. If it's priced at $700, you could see I guess a more rational pricing setup. But if it starts at $850, which is what one analyst suggested, that throws everything out of whack, and like prices are going to are just going to jump, and it'll I guess it'll be an interesting test on what the tolerance level is for Apple fanboys and Apple fans in general, and whether or not they're willing to pay that much more for a phone.
Well, we were talking about this earlier that the 10s Max is expected to hit well over $1,100.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
and if you get increased storage, it could be 1,200 or something
we
like
could
that.
see, if the iPhone 10R, the rumored iPhone 10R starts at 850. You could see it at 1050 or 1100 or even 1150.
Right.
So starting price, and that's not, as you said, that doesn't even include like the step up for more memory, which you kind of want to do if you're gonna spend that much money on a phone. You're probably gonna want to get the max memory possible.
Yeah. So like to throw it out to the chat, like how many of you folks have an iPhone 10? You know, like we live around New York City. A lot of people have iPhone 10s.
Yeah.
I mean, like if they have iPhone 8s, I don't really know because they look like iPhone 6s. So, but I don't see any lack of iPhone 10s.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
they're definitely around, but I would assume that other places in the country probably aren't, you know, jam-packed with iPhone 10s the same way this area is.
From Carlos Martinez, hey, I have a question. Is the iPhone 10s Max... Boy, I'm really going to learn to hate saying that.
I know. It's really annoying to say them out loud, right? Over and over and over again.
Yeah, it's really awful. Is the iPhone 10s Max supposed to be as wide as the iPhone 8 Plus and a little bit taller?
I think it's supposed to be right around the same size as the Plus. Maybe you're right. It might be a little bit longer to fit that screen, but given the fact that they've removed most of the bezel from this, they're using the notch design that they're able to jam in more screen. I think it's supposed to be right around the Plus size, but we'll see. We'll see tomorrow.
Yeah, and maybe they'll have. Well, this is an S year too, so expecting like a really impressive new feature like Face ID. We don't really like the rumors haven't really percolated about anything like that, right? Like that's not.
No, that's an interesting thing. That's why I think that lower cost phone is the most interesting one because in terms of the 10s and the 10s Max, we haven't seen a lot of chatter about anything significantly new about these phones beyond the fact that there's a bigger one, and so I guess that's innovation. They crammed in more screen.
They'll probably talk up the cameras.
I'm sure
That's
the camera got
do.
improvements or software tricks, whatever that they did to the camera. But like in terms of like, we haven't heard a rumor of like a big hallmark like that marquee feature, Face ID. Well then again, last year when like Animojis came out, that was one of like the ones we all talked about. We didn't know anything about them going in, so I'm sure there'll be some surprises to come tomorrow.
Yeah, software is definitely easier to keep secret than hardware, so that's a big reason why.
Yep.
Here's a good question from Lost Legacy. How much do you think the tariffs are going to raise the price of Apple's new products?
Good question.
Great question.
Yes.
No idea.
So, Apple did submit some paperwork. They filed some paperwork to say that the tariffs were going to directly impact a variety of their products. I don't think that the iPhone was actually included in there for some reason, even though they are all made in China.
Yeah.
So, is it really going to substantially impact price? That's hard to say because Apple makes such an enormous profit off of these phones that would they be willing to take less money to make sure that people didn't get like such a shock from the price? That's hard to say because they have a very loyal fan base and it's been proven time and time again that they're willing to pay up a
maybe
lot.
this price increase that we're seeing now is, I don't know, I'm just kidding.
Could be tariff related?
No, it's not. The tariffs have.
If it is tariff related, when the tariffs go away, they're not going to lower the
price.
price.
No, they're not going to lower the price.
They're like, you guys got used to this price. We're just going to take more money.
Oh, yeah, totally.
But yeah, that's definitely a good question, and definitely expect to see Apple talk more about that because they did file some paperwork with the government.
I don't think they'll talk
specifically.
about tomorrow, though.
No,
Yeah,
not tomorrow. But like, this isn't the end of like tariff discussions. So definitely look out for that.
Joseph Gauss wants to know, what do you guys prefer, iOS or Android operating systems?
Oh, we can't play favorites.
I use both.
Yeah, I use both.
Yeah, same.
I mean, like, I use both. I switched to Android last year, and it took a while for me to get used to it. But, the concept of it being more customizable is totally true. With iOS, it is a lot simpler. So sometimes it is nice to jump back on my work phone, which is an iOS phone, just because it's easier to use, but you are a little bit more hemmed in. So it's exactly what everybody always says about the two. They both have benefits and they both have cons.
I feel like they're just different. They have each of them have different quirks to them, and different muscle memories required for different operating systems. But I don't know. I like them both for different reasons. I know that's a lame answer, but
yeah. I'm a fence sitter too. I just jumped to Android a little over a year ago, and I like it. I like it just fine. But I also did not hate iOS.
Right.
But there's nothing about iOS is going to come dragging me back now that I'm on Android.
Yeah,
which
same
is
here.
The better value.
I totally agree.
But
totally.
That's about where I sit on that one myself.
Yep.
Yeah. People seem to be pretty okay with like the new iPhone 10. I don't know, like all the different gestures and the Face ID.
Yeah.
I never use it.
It's kind of annoying at first, but you get used to it.
We got time for a couple more. Not much time though. Samara McCoy, do you guys think the phones are going to be fully waterproof?
They should be.
Well, they'll be IP67 water resistant.
What's that, like 30 minutes?
Yeah, I believe it's 30 minutes. Yeah, exactly. And it's not waterproof. That's definitely a big misnomer. That term gets thrown out way too liberally. Waterproof means like you basically throw in the pool forever
and leave it
fine. There. This definitely has a time limit to it, so it's not waterproof. But it will be water resistant like the previous versions.
From James Fever again, what are the pricings for these upcoming phones? And let's go ahead and expand that. What do you think is going to be the most popular one amongst the three?
So the pricing is still unclear. We were just talking about that earlier. Like the cheapest one could range anywhere between $700 and $850, and I think the rest of the pricing scheme will take its cues from that. Imagine the subsequent model will be $100, $150 more, and the next one is the same, and so we're not sure. The price range could be anywhere from $700 to $1,000 to $850 to $1,150, $1,200.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
If we're following patterns, at least.
Yeah.
And as far as the most popular, at least at this point, we're anticipating that the iPhone XR, because it's the cheapest one. There are still a lot of people.
It's not just the cheapest one, but it's the biggest one. And most people don't care whether or not it's stainless steel versus aluminum or OLED versus LCD. If it's a bigger phone and it's a lower price, that'll be an interesting one. That really kind of puts the original 10s, the 5-point-inch one, that one puts it in an awkward position because it's more expensive. It does have higher end specs. It's got a better camera, most likely, but it's also the smaller one. And I think most consumers who are willing to spend this kind of cash on an iPhone prefer the larger one.
Yeah, it's not a plastic body. It seems to me like if this is the phone that they're describing, they've figured out the right way to do a cheaper phone as opposed to doing the 5C, which was like a plasticky phone with a bunch of bright colors. It was colorful, but like it just didn't sell. People weren't that into it. It wasn't cheap enough.
That's why I don't think they're going to use the C name.
Yep.
It's C stands for cheap. You don't want to go cheap.
That's right.
Just enough time for, let's do two more. Which processor brand will Apple use in the new iPhone lineup? That's
Good
from
question.
Pradeep.
Well, they use their own processor. It's their own design chip. It's based off of ARM's design. But that was the thing. They don't use Qualcomm chips, which is what a lot of Android phones use. They do design their own chips. They're manufactured by, I think, Taiwan Semiconductor and at least one other company. But they are their own design chips. That's often like the secret sauce to why their phones tend to run faster than some of their Android counterparts.
So the bigger storyline is the modem, though. So let's get into
that. Yeah. So obviously they've been in the middle of a legal battle with Qualcomm, which is the biggest supplier of modems. Had been their only supplier of modems up until I think 2 years ago when
last year or 2 years ago.
Yeah, when they split between Qualcomm and Intel. I'm not sure what's going into this phone. Whether it's like all Intel.
The expectation is it's all Intel.
Okay, yeah.
And that could be a concern for a lot of folks because Intel, their modems aren't as fast as the Qualcomm one. So you're buying a phone that could be slightly hampered. Are regular consumers going to notice? Probably not, but still, you're spending a lot of money.
This is the modem connection. That's for the network connection. So it's pretty important. This isn't processing speed, so it's not how fast your phone runs in terms of running programs. It is about the cell connection, whether or not your connection will be faster. And yeah, it's you rightly pointed out, Intel has generally been like a generation behind in terms of speed. Last year, Qualcomm got to a gigabit LTE connection first, and Intel was still kind of well behind. We'll see if Intel catches up. I think it's believed that Intel will supply all the modems this time around, but that's one of those things that's to be determined. We have to wait until someone breaks open the phone and actually like looks at the parts before we can really confirm what's inside.
Someone call Bill Detweiler.
There we go.
Closing thoughts. Will iOS 12 be released tomorrow or later? And Scott Myatt says, I heard there's a rumor going around that there's going to be no headphone adapter in the box this time. Is that going to bother people?
I did hear that rumor.
I heard that rumor too. That'll bother me. I like those dongles because I keep losing them. I need more dongles.
The dongle, I almost dropped it in the middle of the street recently.
Oh, wow.
It's so tiny. And I'm sure it costs like $25 to replace it.
Right.
Are they doing iOS 12 tomorrow? Do they usually do that?
Usually they don't. It's usually like they'll announce a date for you to download it. It's fairly it's not that long. It's like a week or two before you actually get iOS 12. I would not download iOS 12, at least when it first becomes available. It's usually buggy. They just have to run patches or updates. I'd wait a few weeks, wait a week or two at least before downloading iOS 12 just to get the kinks out of it all.
All right, before we wrap it up, a couple of closing thoughts. Fantastic questions keep flooding in, but we are out of time. Alex Mitchell wants us to talk about the OnePlus 6T in the near future. Josh Boyd is looking forward to possibly different colored AirPods. James Fever wants to know if there's any word on new MacBook Air or Mac Mini. So let's keep our ears to the ground for all of those things. Otherwise, tomorrow we are not going to have a show because CNET's going to be broadcasting live surrounding the Big Apple event. Stay tuned for that. I'm pretty sure Vanessa's going to be hosting.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, no, Ashley.
Ashley's hosting.
Ashley's
My
hosting.
bad. Sorry,
Vanessa
Ash.
will be on the ground.
Yeah. Okay. So come back for that. We'll be back with a regular podcast on Thursday. Roger, you want to send us home?
Yes, our podcast is available on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, FeedBurner, Google Play Music, Amazon Alexa, and of course CNET.com. Stay tuned to CNET for all of our coverage tomorrow. We won't be around, but Ashar Tibkin, Scott Stein, the whole crew will be on the ground at Apple Park for all the Apple goodness tomorrow.
Cool.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.